Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Ellen and today we are going to talk about how to tune a violin. And this video is specifically for beginners and parents who need to know how to tune their children's violins. As a brief disclaimer, if you are the parent or a beginner and you have a violin teacher that you see regularly, a private teacher, please ask them about tuning and how they would like you to handle this, because everyone will have their own opinions, their own processes that they would like you to follow, and I do not want to step on anyone's toes. However, if you do not, if you are learning as a beginner yourself with no real teacher, especially right now in the middle of the pandemic, that's really hard. If your child is in an orchestra and doesn't really have that one-on-one lesson experience, then this is the video for you, because it can be really hard to tune a violin. It's hard. It's hard for me, and I am a professional string musician. So this is my daughter's violin, and we're going to use this for this first part because there are two types of tuning pegs, which you may know or maybe not. We have our standard tuning pegs up here in the peg box by the scroll, and these make big adjustments. They also are how you take the strings on and off, and they can be very finicky, very hard to do. They slip, they stick. So if at all possible, we're going to hang out here at the fine tuning pegs. So these fine tuning pegs are on the tailpiece. They're here. I'm using this instrument because it has all four. And I sincerely hope that the instrument that you are trying to tune today has four tuning pegs. If not, we'll get there in a minute. But assuming that you have four tuning pegs, these fine tuning pegs make small adjustments. So if you look, you have a string, the E string. If you're tuning a viola, it'll be an A string. And it comes down here to the tuning peg here. So look with me for a second, find your string, see how it goes down to the tuning peg. So first, second, third, fourth, they go like that. There are many ways to get the correct pitch. I am going to be using a metronome today that will give us the pitch, and we'll practice matching it. There are also many, dozens of free tuning apps that you can put on really any device that will visually show you, either with a needle or with lights, colors, they're all different. They will visually show you if the pitch is in tune or if it needs to be higher or lower. I will link a few in the description box, but you can also just search free violin tuning app and you will find dozens. They do a great job. So in just a second, we're going to turn that on and practice. But first things to know with these fine tuning pegs, they go on a righty-tighty, lefty-loosey principle. So if you're looking at it from the front, so you're holding the instrument solidly in your left hand, really firmly. If it's a small one, you can hold it here. If it's a bigger one, hold it by your shoulder. You can also brace it kind of against your body or against your knee if you're sitting down. That's very helpful, especially if it's a full-size instrument. So you're going to hold it firmly in your hand, no dropping. Left hand, right hand, it's going to tune. And they are righty-tighty. So to the right or clockwise will make the pitch higher. To the left or counterclockwise will make the pitch lower. So we're going to practice. I'm going to turn on it's going to be a little loud, a very loud A. If it will start for me. Yes. Sorry, that's as low as I can get it. And we're going to pluck the A string, which is the second one. And this one needs to be a little bit lower. And again, get that off. Again, your tuning app will tell you if it needs to be higher or lower, or if you're comfortable, you can use your ears if you've practiced that skill. So you're going to pluck as you go, do some pizzicato. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm just taking my thumb and really gently touching the string, letting it go. We're going to listen. Oh, it needs to be a little bit higher. So I'm doing tiny twists, Like maybe if we go back to thinking about a clock, thinking about like maybe 5 minutes, depending on how big the adjustment is. The more you tune it, the bigger the change is going to be. So we're going to keep going a little bit. I'm going to turn it back just a little bit. And this is not the most accurate way to tune with pizzicato. But for our purposes today, for a really beginning tune or parent who just really needs to fix the violin so your kid can practice, this will do for right now. So we've tuned the A string. We went a little bit to the right to make it higher, and then we went too far, so we went back to the left to make it a little bit lower until it matched pitch, or until you're seeing it on the tuning app. Some tuning apps are very finicky, and they won't like the pizzicato. It'll make the needle go or it might not pick it up, in which case you should use a bow. So what you would do then, again, I got my daughter's bow here. So we're gonna play that A, just very carefully. If you're the parent, you're gonna just hold on to the bow. Ideally, you'll have a beautiful bow hold, but whatever is fine. You want to keep the bow moving at a pretty consistent pace. If you do a really fast bow, like that, that'll make your tuner go, and you won't get an accurate reading. If you go slow, you can hear how it's all bumpy, and you also won't get an accurate reading. So we want nice and medium, and that will help get it in. And this is still a little bit too high, but that's how you tune with fine tuning pegs. Traditionally, you start with your A string, which should be A440, and then you would tune your D string, and then the G string, and then the E string. But you do what works for you. Again, in this situation, we're just trying to get the instrument tuned so that you or your child can practice effectively. Anyway, so that's how we do fine tuners. They're pretty simple. It's hard to mess them up too much. You can't really make the string fall off. You can't make it too tight or too high where it will hurt your instrument or snap anything. So fine tuners are the way to go. So problem number one, your fine tuner is down too far. It's like a screw. It is a screw, and it's been screwed all the way down to the bottom, and you can't turn it anymore. Well, then what you do is you turn it not all the way, but you turn it several times to the left until you can see, let's see if we can see this, maybe, until you can see a good amount of tuner available, good amount of that screw available at the bottom. You don't want to get it too far. And then you're going to need to use the pegs to fix it. That's usually what I do before I turn a student's instrument, is I just do a quick check and see if they're running out of space, and I will do that for them. Hopefully the orchestra teacher, if you're meeting in person, is doing that as well, and you don't have to deal with it. But if you do, we're going to go there now. Other reason for this problem is you just don't have all your fine tuning pegs. A lot of instruments, especially older instruments or bigger instruments, full-size instruments, or even 3/4, they only have an E fine tuning peg. They don't have all the others. So I'm going to grab my violin now, and you can see that my violin only has one fine tuner on the E string. So what you got to do is you got to use the pegs. And this can be tricky. Again, please, 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 if you have a private teacher, talk to them about tuning. This is a finicky process, and lots of things could go wrong. So remember, this is an emergency tuning video, not a how to perfectly tune your violin all the time, every time video. So you've got a violin that's very out of tune, your child's violin very out of tune, you have no space on your fine tuners, or you have no tuners at all, you're going to have to use the tuning pegs up here. And the same thing applies. So follow a string, pick a string. You're going to follow it up and see which fine tuning peg it's attached to. So let's take your top string, your E string or A on the viola. And we're going to go up. And we're going to see it goes to this peg right now, right here. So this is E, A, and then on this other side we have D and G. And if you look, always check with your eyes, make sure you're getting the right peg. These pegs on a down makes them lower. So on this side, down, on this side, down. We'll make it lower. And then up, like this, we'll make it higher. The same thing on this other side. Up, make it higher. Some tips and tricks as you do this, because again, we're going for close enough at this point. Get your tuner. If you can hear a pitch, that can be really helpful. You're going to want to pluck as you go. So ideally, you're going to want to sit down. You're going to get your instrument and you're going to put it on your knee like this. If I can get it in camera. And then you're going to get a hand up here. This would be for the D string. And your other hand, I'm going to put it like this, but this is not how you do it, just so you can see. This hand, pluck, whichever hand is not turning, this hand, turn. Or if you're over here, your right hand is going to turn, and your left hand is going to pluck as you go. This will prevent you from going too high. If you tune a string significantly higher than it should be, you can break your strings, and you can break your strings. You can make your bridge fall out, all sorts of things. If you turn it too low, your string can fall out, your bridge can go down, like all sorts of bad. So we want to be very careful, very, very, very careful. Pluck as you go, watch or listen to your tuner, and make sure that you are not going too high. So we're going to experiment with one string. So we're going to get our tuning sound back. Our A, sorry, it's really loud. I'm going to pluck our A string. This one is in tune. The A, step back so you can see. The A is here. Again, this will be on your knee or on your lap, kind of your thigh, not really your knee. You're going to turn down like this. Down. You can hear how it got lower. Now I'm going to turn up. And I'm going to push in while I go. Here it's getting a little bit higher. Now it's pretty matchy. This is an example of too high. So if you hear about that high, you want to stop, go back down. And you're going to keep going until you get in the middle. Usually you have to kind of pass. So if the pitch is here, you're going to be too low and then too high and then too low and too high. As you tune, a great rule of thumb is always go low first. Turn down first. That will get the peg kind of unstuck from the peg box without the risk of getting that string too high. So if you do have fine tuners that you're trying to readjust, remember to loosen them before you do this step. And then you can just get close enough with your pegs and then finish tuning with the fine tuning pegs. If you only have pegs, then you'll need to get a little bit, obviously you need to get closer because this is how you do it. If your pegs are sticking or slipping, there are things that can be done about that. We're not going to cover that in this video. Please ask your orchestra teacher or your private teacher if you're just watching this because you're meeting over Zoom right now. Or if you really want to know, let me know in the comments and I will do some kind of tuning troubleshooting with you in another video. Anyway, I hope this is helpful in giving you a little bit more confidence on how to tune your instrument or your child's instrument. Go for it. Be careful. And biggest tip is check as you go. And it's going to be great. Good luck with tuning.